24 frames per second is perfect when it comes to film. 30 frames per second is awesome for television. And 60 frames per second, well, that is great for sports. But can you do 60 frames per second all the time? Let's find out. Hi, welcome back. I am Jared, your host here on the crazy train of whatever we want to call this. But today I really wanted to talk about 60 frames per second and show some samples. For example, we're 60 frames per second right now. This is the Canon R7 at 60 frames per second. And yeah, it is a standard profile. I'm not in log right now. We will move to log with the Canon R6 Mark II in just a moment. But this is what this looks like in 60 frames per second. 24 is what I typically do on this channel. 30 is rare, sometimes in drone mode, but it's mostly 24. But how does 60 frames per second look? The motion is not delayed a whole lot. It's more digitally enhanced. Just like me on Instagram, I digitally enhance myself so people like me. But where 60 frames per second really shines is sports. Anytime that you watch football or baseball, I mean, honestly, baseball, do you really need 60 frames per second? No, that's like golf. Or is chess a sport? We got to make sure we can see that rook taking that knight perfectly, right? No, I don't think 60 frames per second is right for that. So I'm going to bring you into a couple scenarios where 60 frames per second can be fun. And one of them is drone. So we're going to head over to the cemetery because that's where all the action is, baby. It's the cemetery. And after that, I'm going to bring you over to my son's soccer game. It's not that fast pace. It's, 8-year-olds kicking a ball and kicking each other in the shin, but we got some sports going on. And then I'm going to come back here and tell you my final thoughts on when you should use 60 frames per second and is it just butt ugly? I am not going to fly in full manual acro mode. It will just be a normal mode because we're at the cemetery and it is dead quiet and I don't want to be too loud here doing some acrobatic moves and hopefully not freak anybody out that's mourning their lost ones. They're not lost. They're just buried here. Again, filming on the Canon R6 Mark II at 60 frames per second, 1/125th shutter speed. I can't do 1/120th. Wish it was a full 180 degree shutter rule there, but not here, not on the R6 II yet, Canon. You always want to double. So for 60 frames per second, it would be 1/120, but we got to do 1/125. We are going to be flying the Avata at 60 frames per second as well. So the Avata's at 1/120th. I wish that Canon would do 1/120th, but it's just 1/125. And 60 frames per second on both of these. Recording and flying around the cemetery. Is this appropriate? Well, if you've been following me, most things I do on this channel are definitely not appropriate, but what am I going to do? Bother these people? Let's go down, take it easy. Oh, deer. I mean, there's a deer right there. Oh, dear. Here, we'll turn around. Look at it. It doesn't even know what to make of me. This is 60 frames per second, and that deer is like, that bird is messed up. By the way, my kids and I ride our bikes in the cemetery all the time. It's amazing. That footage is awesome. That deer is awesome. And what's so cool about it is that you come here at dusk and they're just all over the place. They know they are safe amongst the dead. Nobody's hunting them here. So we'll ride our bikes here. This isn't too far from our house. I told my wife a while ago that, the senior assisted living is down the street and then the cemetery is down the street from that. So we had a little natural progression to go on. So yeah, riding your bike through here. I teach my kids the history of Green Bay. A lot of the founders obviously are buried here. These date back to like the 1830s, 1820s. And so we'll go over and look at families and I mean, not literally look at the families, but look at their their tombstones, and kind of calculate, you know, their birth date, their death date, how old were they, and everything. I just find the history of people fascinating. Leave a comment right now on this part of the video. What do you think of flying through the cemetery? Should I do more videos here, or do you find it morbid? Oh, there's somebody. Is there somebody passing me? Oh, shoot. I just hid behind a tombstone because I didn't want those people to see me. Here I come, rising behind the tombstone. It's funny. It's like I can spy on people coming at me. That's the problem with VR, or I should say FPV, using these kind of VR type goggles, is you do not know technically what's going on around you unless you use the eyes of your drone. So there I am. So again, 60 frames per second. What do you think of the image? We're gonna go over the urn stuff. So this is me low to the ground. Whoa! Oh my gosh, that was awesome. That deer totally just came at me. Oh my gosh, I have never witnessed that before. That was awesome. Holy cow. She's like, get out of here. Ironically, she almost killed my drone in the cemetery. Huh. Come on, leave me a comment. You want more cemetery shots? Yeah, after that you do. We are at my son's soccer game right now, and we're gonna get some shots in the 60 frames per second. So, switch it over. Sun has gone down a little bit, and yeah, you don't have, it's behind a cloud, so none of that bad backlit look. But yeah, what does 60 frames per second look like in a talking head? Well, you're gonna find out in my office more. Now, I will tell you what I do like about 60 frames per second and what I don't like about 60 frames per second. What I do like is it's crisp, it looks good. The C-Log actually looked really good. I'm usually doing inanimate objects when I'm doing architecture. So the fact that it just looked so good with skin tones and everything in the car, I was very happy with it. The standard profile obviously it's standard, but Canon does an amazing job that most of the time I don't even shoot C-Log when it comes to talking head or controlled lighting situations. And it worked pretty well when I was out at my son's soccer game. That was not C-Log, that was definitely standard profile. So here's the ugly truth about 60 frames per second. It is more than double the space on your hard drive than 24 frames per second. It takes up a lot more space. It's beautiful, but it takes up a lot of space. Also, if you are looking for more of a cinematic look, a more natural look that the human eye is seeing, that is 24 frames per second. It's not 30 frames per second. That is not a natural look. But when you are looking at somebody, when someone is moving in motion, the world is moving around you, it's glorious. It is 24 frames per second. That is more accurate than doing 30 or 60. Now, where 60 does come in handy is shoot 60, slow it down to 24, so you're bringing it down to 40% of that speed, and it is very buttery smooth. It just looks good. What do you think? Is it a look you like? And by the way, you know who shoots 60 frames per second all the time? Tony Northrup. Just saying. He does it, and he gets away with it. I don't even know how, but the rest of us are like 30 frames per second, 24. He just goes all in, 60. He's so daring. But seriously, do you want more shoots in the cemetery? It's kind of fun to go there. I feel kind of naughty, like I'm not supposed to be there, but I'm going to go fly my drone and do some videos. It's pretty fun. Check out these videos over here. I think you're going to like them, but no promises. No promises.